and give a technical update. We're joined by Mohammed Al-Banna, CEO of Lead Ventures, Piotr and Ralph from the Casper Association, and Meda and Saeed of CasperLabs. We will open up for a Q&A towards the end of the call, so please leave your questions in the YouTube live comments here or on our Telegram, and we'll try and get them answered for you. Handing it off to you, Piotr.
Thank you very much. Welcome on behalf of Casper Association. As you said, we have our guest here, so I will start first with Mohammed. If you could please introduce yourself, and we will go to the next slide.
Thank you very much, Piotr. Since we have nice people who are attending from all around the world, therefore I would like to tell everyone good morning, good afternoon, good evening from Dubai, and good night in advance. My name is Mohammed Al-Banna. I'm the CEO and Managing Director of Lead Ventures. Just to tell you briefly about my background, I started my journey in my life as a banker. That was in year 2000, selling credit cards, which was one of the toughest but yet amazing experience. Maybe one day I will share it in details. I discovered two things at that time, that number one, I was born for sales, and number two, building relationship is one of my passion. And therefore, two principles were always with me, whatever I do, wherever I go. Number one is your network is your net worth. Contacts bring contracts. And because of these 2 points, I have created a platform to make it a one-stop station to partner with unique companies worldwide that will make us really proud to introduce them to the UAE market in order to make successful stories together.
Thank you very much. Meda, would you like to talk a little bit about this venture?
Absolutely. So this is a venture that CasperLabs is partnering, with Lead Ventures. We're incredibly excited about this. It flows very well with our model to support enterprise and real world adoption using the Casper technology. And, this partnership is going to really give us a foothold, right? Basically like a station by which we can set up operations in the, UAE, right? And to help bolster adoption of blockchain technology in that area. It maps very well to our Red Hat professional services model. We are here to provide a one-stop shop for companies that are looking to integrate blockchain technology and see the value of this wonderful technology. So very, very excited to be partnering with them. Mohammed, would you like to share a little bit more about the mission and vision of Lead Ventures?
All right. In order not to read it from the screen where everyone can read, just to tell you the bigger vision also from my side as a CEO and as lead, we would like to transform the vision of our leaders, Sheikh Hamad bin Rashid, the ruler of Dubai, into reality. So His Royal Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Rashid is always keen to be number one. So he always say we want to be the first, the biggest, the highest, the fastest. So we, as one of the arm or muscles in United Arab Emirates, that created a platform in order to transform this vision into reality by onboarding companies from all around the world that they are the best, and be in United Arab Emirates to implement their technologies, whether in products or services. So this is our vision, that we really want to feel proud of bringing these amazing companies to United Arab Emirates by us contributing to United Arab Emirates to have these amazing, unique companies.
Yeah, it's terrific. We're so grateful to be partnering with you all. Indeed. Very, very exciting.
Hey everyone.
Hey, Saeed. Welcome. Would you like to introduce yourself and tell us how you'll be working with Lead Ventures and your role in the
Yeah,
company?
for sure. My name is Saeed Aldamaki. I'm currently managing director for the MENA region for CasperLabs, and I have been advisor to Lead Ventures over the last few years, and have had a great relationship with Mohammed and the team at Lead Ventures. And I've seen their work firsthand, and they've been doing an amazing job with bringing in the top tier companies to the UAE to do their business and develop the ecosystem and infrastructure in the UAE. And I'm very happy that we have partnered with Lead Ventures. I think they'll add an extremely valuable amount of value to us and CasperLabs and what we're trying to achieve with and getting enterprise adoption in the UAE and in the Middle Eastern region and in North Africa. And super excited to be working with you guys.
Likewise, Joe, are there any questions from the community about this topic? I know there have been some questions about MENA. People have been curious about what the first initiative is going to look like in the region. I've heard questions about that. Saeed, do you want to comment a little bit on where we think we'll get started in terms of some of the things that we're talking about the technology for?
Yeah, for sure. So I think with the help of Lead Ventures, so Lead Ventures will help us on the ground in the Middle East and North Africa with, business development, with meeting a lot of different various government entities and corporations in the region. They'll help us with recruitment and in establishing, staffing in the region, having boots on the ground to support and work with the clients that we onboard here. And they'll help us with marketing in the region, PR and marketing as well. There's a lot of different areas that Lead Ventures will support us with. But I think the first and foremost, most important thing is to actually educate the government agencies and entities here in the region, because their level of knowledge in terms of blockchain technology specifically is not as developed as in other countries and other regions. So I think it will be establishing a long-term relationship with these different entities and educating them on blockchain technology in general. And then once they're familiar with the technology, then encouraging them to use specific use cases on Casper network as well. So ultimately, at CasperLabs, we want to get as many enterprises to adopt Casper network and use the network, because ultimately the network usage is the most important thing for us, and that's the long-term vision. And we want to build the legacy here in the region. And with Lead Ventures, I feel that we have the best possible partner to help us in that. And if you're asking about specific use cases, I mean, there's like authentication and verification of different assets that are being traded in different markets here. There's also, in terms of national identity as well, we have a very well developed application that's being used, for example, in the UAE and in the Middle Eastern region. Everything is going digital. So in terms of that, I believe that there is a lot of use case, and there's a lot of usage of that, and there's a lot of sensitive information and data that's on the traditional and legacy databases. But the best way to secure data is using blockchain and using Casper network. So I feel those are pretty important use cases, and in general, use cases where the number of transactions and the number of use and the amount of usage on the network will be high, and actually will make a big difference to a lot of people, and improve things and make things a lot more efficient for a lot of different government entities as well.
Thanks, Saeed. We got a question here, very fitting. Do you have a country or business partner in the MENA region with Casper?
I think Lead Ventures is the business partner in the
Yeah,
MENA regions.
yeah.
That's basically right. That's what they're going to provide for us. They're going to be the leading, Lead Ventures is going to be the umbrella that's going to, under which we are going to build those relationships and help us bootstrap all those relationships, both in terms of hiring as well as business relationships.
And yeah, and Lead Ventures also have a lot of different partners in the region as well that we can leverage those relationships that they have in order to facilitate all of the things that we're trying to do, not just in the UAE, but in the wider region as well.
One of the things that we've noticed in our business development and talking with enterprises, there's a very large education component, right? We're like it's like the very early days of cloud. I say this a lot of times when I talk about the technology. We're in the very early days of cloud, internet and web 1.0, if you want to call it. And so there's a lot of education going on with companies in terms of how they can leverage this technology. What are the use cases? So we're going in there and learning about their business and then providing them guidance and inspiration on how we can help them get an edge in the market by using blockchain technology. So it's much, much more than just going in and doing the professional services piece. It's even more upstream than that. It's an education component. Terrific. Any other questions?
Many exchange questions coming in. Of course, sticking to the announcement we made yesterday.
Yeah, we're going to hold on those. Exactly. Yeah. We need to let Mohammed go. He has a commitment. So thank you, sir, very much for joining us today. Saeed, you're welcome to stay, but if you also have to leave because of personal commitments, I completely understand. Have a great evening. Thanks for joining us. We are going to continue on with a technical update next. So actually, we're going to show the Block Explorer, right? Is that right, Pio?
Yes.
Okay,
Normally
fantastic.
we would start with the technical update, but today we have our friends from Make Company here. They created brilliant tool, CasperLabs, and we have Michael Steuer with us. Michael, if you could present us officially our new Block Explorer.
Mohammed, thank you so much again for joining us.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
Would be happy to, Piotr, and thank you for having us here today. Let me share my screen. So I know, just based going off of Google Analytics, that many people on this call must have already seen this because it's been live for about a week or so. But we at Make are just very excited about the launch of this MVP of CasperLabs. By way of background, Make my business partner Alex and I were involved with Casper from day one or day zero, really. And obviously are large supporters of the project. And thinking about a blockchain and consumer use cases, we very much realize that sort of a solid block explorer is often sort of the first thing that users will see when they explore literally a blockchain. Which is why we thought it's important to, if it's the front door, have it be a very nice front door, perhaps with some red carpets leading up to it. So we're excited about the start of that process with CasperLabs. The MVP is live. We have a very long roadmap of improvements and additional functionality. Happy to talk about that or answer questions about it. But let's take a quick dive into the Explorer. On the homepage, we show sort of a basic current state of the blockchain. You always know what the tip of the chain is, how many validators are presently active, and what the total stake bonded is. As tokens get unlocked in the near future, there may be some additional metrics that we will want to show here. And as perhaps in the also near future, there may be a currency conversion or exchange rate for Casper. There may be some additional layers of information there as well. Generally speaking, you can search for accounts, deploys, and blocks either by using their key, their hash. or looking at them chronologically. We are adding sorting and filtering functionality to a lot of these views where, for example, if we're looking at the blocks list for right now, it is by default sorted chronologically. You may want to sort it based on validator or filter only for blocks that have transfers in them, for example. We also show all of our deploys chronologically. It's very exciting to see this on mainnet finally. Until a few days ago, this was a screen that was basically an empty table. So we're looking forward to this table filling up very, very rapidly in the near future. And validator shows two views, really. It shows the present state of the current era and the upcoming era based on validator auctions. And then you can take a sort of a real-time look into the validator auction where you see for each validator their total stake, which is really the sum of their self-stake and their delegated stake. So if you want to take a look at a validator, for example, here, we highlight how much they've self-staked from their own validating accounts. In this example, this validator has 770,000 Casper, but that only makes up 0.2% of their total stake. If you want to look what makes up the rest of their total stake, you can dig into their delegators. One of the things that we're excited about and that will be announced in the near future is actually providing more information about validators on a sort of self-identified basis. Because if your key is Bob, as you can see, that's the 0146 key. It's integrated with the signer where you can use as many keys as you want, and it links up with CasperLabs. That's the only authentication we have at the moment, or key management. We're working actively with the folks who are integrating with Ledger to add that as a next option. CasperLabs will always be non-custodial, so we'll be working only with external key management tools, whether it's hardware wallets or software wallets. That's it. I'm happy to take questions.
Terrific. Thank you. Thank you very much, Michael. It looks great. And let's see if we have any questions from the community.
Michael, this is Tim Lewis. Real quick, is there the option on this version to go between the testnet and the mainnet?
Thank you for asking that, Tim. There is, in fact. Here on the right, you have a dropdown that will take you from mainnet to testnet, which lives at testnet.casper.live. And has all of the same functionality. And in addition to all of the same functionality, it doesn't presently, but will soon also have a version of the faucet that folks may be familiar with from the previous tool, Clarity. So obviously that's not a function that will exist on mainnet, but on testnet and potentially other test nets, a faucet would always be available.
Terrific. Yeah, let me just express my gratitude, for making this happen. It looks fantastic, and it enabled us to focus on the core protocol, which is where CasperLabs really needs to be. Having a team such as yours that has expertise in this, building the user interface. And as well, it really helped make, I believe, get a lot of expertise in the protocol itself and how to build a data intensive application efficiently using the Casper architecture. So thank you so much.
Our pleasure, Meta, and we really enjoy working with your team. And I think it's definitely been sort of mutually beneficial with interesting discoveries and information flowing both ways.
Absolutely, definitely looking forward to it.
Joe, any questions coming from YouTube?
Not specifically about the CSPR live.
All right. In that case, let me share my screen. Michael, thank you very much. I think it's not the last time we host you, and feel welcome to join us and update us on any updates on Casper Live.
Always happy to be back. Thanks.
Right.
Piotr, you're not sharing your screen, so.
My bad.
There
Yes.
we go. There we go.
All right. So technical update from Casper. We are working in our sprint cycle. It's the fourth sprint of our 1.2 release, which marks sprint 13.4. It means that we are closing 1.2 release. In fact, we already cut the release branch. The 1.2 is under the testing, and hopefully after the phase of internal test, in a matter of next couple of days, we'll hand it over for the tested validators to test our second upgrade. And as for the details, I will dive into that just in a minute. But first of all, the most important news is that our mainnet was successfully upgraded with 1.1. So the first upgrade, it's up and running. You've seen that we already start seeing some activity over the network, and we are working towards the second upgrade, which is our top priority right now. For our current focus, there are the details. So on the highway side, on the protocol side, consensus side, we are working to exclude inactive validators from the leader sequence, so to optimize this process. On the node side, we are working towards the future, so to give higher priority for the validator nodes with the authentication for the validator key when connecting. We are also creating more integration tests. This one is specifically about the equivocation and upgrade, so we make sure that even during the upgrade, the network will be behaving in a stable way. On test and SRE side, we are solely focused on the supporting the network and the release. So this is our top priority. And as a parallel stream, we're also working on our tool for testing, NCTL, where we are adding more and more scenarios to our scripts. And ecosystem is the area where we are very much active last days. So we are working on exchanges integration support, and with that it comes a lot of new docs that we are presenting on docs.casperlabs.io. So please check this site. Like day to day, we are adding there more and more data, and we are working hard towards presenting up to date the state of the art of both our ecosystem tools as the core tools that we are working on. We also introduce the repository for Golang SDK support. So here you will see full-fledged Golang SDK. Now we are already after the first preview, so the first snapshot is already there, and we are working on the feature parity between Golang SDK and JavaScript SDK. And Java SDK is coming as well. So please check our Casper ecosystem organization. More tools will be available there soon. And on the ecosystem side, as for the Casper Signer, so you saw Signer just a few minutes ago. We are still working to enhance both the UI UX side, but also we kicked off a security review with Quantstamp. So make sure that we want to make sure that Signer is 100% stable and secure. So this will happen also in the near future, and we plan to finish this up, to wrap this up before the trading, and that would comes with the integration with Casper.live. On the economic side, I hope that Alex is with us.
Yes, I am always with you. So there are two major initiatives this sprint. The first one, formulating and calculating platform welfare measures, specifically has to do with trying to decide between two different ways of allocating slots to validators. And this has some interaction with previous work on strategic bidding that we did. And so hopefully we will be able to have a model actually written down that we can use as a basis for calculations, right? To figure out whether in fact we should switch to a slot allocation model where basically your slot allocations are not as dependent, or completely independent of the stake. So that's number one. The second one has to do actually with, as Med is reminding me in the chat, with our work with the team Rough Garden. And for those of you who don't know, Tim is basically a professor of algorithmic economics, and we are talking with him to assess, the incentive properties of the different features that we have on the platform, right? Starting from the ground up, right? So starting from consensus and moving on upwards. And the most recent things that we're actually talking with him about were, our conception of these dual markets for gas, the spot market and the future or forward market, and basically there we have, we began talking about it, but we didn't really reach any conclusions yet. So I'm going to be reading up on some of, some real examples of, such, dual markets coexisting. The most obvious one is actually the market for wholesale electricity, where you have the day-ahead market and the real-time market, but similar thing exists in AWS. But curiously, in some other cases, it doesn't seem to exist. Like, so for example, for search ads, there doesn't seem to be anything like a forward or a futures market. There is essentially just a spot market. So we'll be trying to figure out why exactly, sometimes the two markets exist and sometimes they don't. And actually, a third thing that I'm working on that's not mentioned here is a recalculation of our gas cost table and making that a little easier to rerun in the future.
Great, thank you, and for giving me to not include this third point. I always went with two, so I just wanted to make it symmetrical. But yes, that's correct. That's the current state of our board. As for the mainnet, so status, you can check it on Casper.live. The current block height is as follows. We have 50 validators on board, and network is up and running in a stable way. What about the testnet team? Are you with us?
Yeah, I'm here. I don't have the exact figures, but a lot more validators are popping in. The testnet status is similarly can be found on testnet Casper Cspr.live. But the network is up, running smooth. Looks like the updates that were pre-occurred to the mainnet were successful, and it was definitely a smooth transition into upgrading mainnet. The Casper testnet Telegram chat is full of activity with a lot of people who are on and interested and are earning incentives for contributing to the testnet side. So if you're not on at Casper testnet, go join on there. And that's an initiative brought by DevXDAO. So if you're not familiar with the grant process at DevXDAO, at DevXDAO is the Telegram chat there. But it's up, it's live. Everyone is pushing blocks. It's just a lot more action because there are tokens moving. So there are things, there's activity on the network, which will give you kind of a jump and a leg up on a lot of others if you're building or if you're just trying to learn how the system is going to work. I'd highly suggest going to check it out.
Great news, team. Thank you. And just to make a closure here, so 6 more validators for mainnet will reactivate their bit soon, so we'll end up with our 56 validators here as well. And with that, I think we can close the technical update part, and we can move to our questions and answers.
Thanks, Piotr. So again, very expected questions about exchanges, which we won't be touching on here today. Cardano has been pushing mass adoption for Cardano blockchain in Africa region. they're making good progress. What is Casper's strategy to push for mass adoption to become a top blockchain player? Meta, maybe you could touch
Meta,
on
you
that.
mind if I jump in real quick? And
Go for
Yeah,
it,
go
Tim.
for it. I love that. So go for it,
Yeah,
Tim.
no, it's fantastic. You know, one of my favorite parts, I've been a part of the greater crypto ecosystems now for nearly a decade. The commitment to decentralization and the decentralization of value is so strong within the Casper organization. One of the first things that they did was help enable and sponsor the donation of a very large amount of the token protocol, 16% of the token network, for incentivization for developers and for outreach and for community. So we run this all through an organization called DevXDAO. And this is a basically steering committee of developers, community members, and lawyers that will help us push incentive in a very interesting governance protocol, reputation-based manner to help get initiatives off the ground. A lot of these initiatives, as we're fielding them now, and our goal this year is there's a lot of tokens that need to be getting out, but it's 20 to 40 grants a month right now is what our expectations are as we're pushing live. Hopefully we'll move into further into that. But ultimately, these things will emerge. Some of the things that we're coming off now are a lot of learning economy type of grants. There are people that are out building. There are people that are going to try to build platforms and programs. Some of the people from the Open Badges program are coming across. We've got some great content that we're going to push to other networks like LinkedIn Learning and a number of the other things. Hopefully, we'll get those completed. But these are all community driven. You know, a project like Casper, this is the mainnet just launched, you know, less than 2 months ago. Cardano's been live for a long time. I know Charles love his initiatives, but I'm extremely excited about the push and the community drive and really leading this from the community from within. So for those that have experience and those that have networks and those that have ideas about pushing this forward, come join us at DevXDAO. This is a organization that is decentralized and separate from Casper itself and is strictly run by the community. So we do have conversations and video presentations every Tuesday as well. It's actually in the hour following this meeting. But yeah, we're excited to get a lot of those kicked off. Aside from that, I know Meta is going to talk about enterprise adoption until, you know, that she can't talk about it anymore. It's such an important part about the community itself and pushing that. Some of the things that you might have heard earlier with Lead Ventures are extremely exciting. When you have very large organizations and governances looking to drive and actually taking not only an interest, but an investment interest in a network, those types of things are very exciting to me as well. So I'm extremely excited at this, you know, this initial stage of this network. The team of not only advisory, but also the greater community is really stepping up to push those things forward, and yeah, very excited to see what comes next.
Actually, could I add to that?
Go for it, Marco.
Some of you may know I spent quite a bit of time with IOHK Inside about 3 years ago. It's important to put things into context. You're seeing a lot of press recently about Cardano in Africa. Those initiatives started 3 and 4 years ago. And the one advantage that we can't, obviously, I can't discuss it on this community call, but there are several initiatives in the pipeline currently that are at least as noteworthy as Cardano's, and in some cases more noteworthy, that Casper is prepared to execute on in the next 12 months. There's a significantly accelerated set of activities going on within the Casper community that, from a perspective standpoint, make us outshine Cardano in this respect.
Yeah, and you know, I think one of the reasons that we're seeing that kind of rapid adoption, one is because the space itself has moved forward, right? So like timing is everything, right? You hear that over and over again. I think the you know, more industry and enterprises are ready for Casper, but I also believe that the virtual machine and the smart contracting engine and the pieces that we built, the continuous integration, continuous deployment support, the contract packages and upgrade functionality, the multi-key, you know, associated keys feature, this notion of, flexible payment code and, the goal and desire to stabilize gas fees. All of these things are super, super important to enterprise. Using multiple languages, right, and supporting multiple languages and the integrated development environment workflow. These are the things that would previously be blockers for enterprise, because you really can't build a business where you can't upgrade your contracts in an intuitive and sensible way. And so I feel that one of the reasons why we've seen such fantastic traction from our business partners and companies we speak with is because of those features, right? I built a protocol that I would use, not one that I would be like, there's no way I can actually, it's not sustainable. I wouldn't be able to support development and building a product on a protocol that was lacking these features.
Maybe I can jump in as well, guys.
Yeah.
I'll just speak to specifically the UAE and in general the Middle Eastern and North African region. I think because most of the countries that are made up in this region are developing countries, because of my knowledge of economics and the monetary system and the financial system, I do know that one of the accelerators of the economic growth is technology. And over the last few years, the UAE government specifically has been very, very much proactive in adopting all the new emerging technologies, and more specifically blockchain technology. So I think from the top down in these different countries in the region, the government is very, very much supportive and pushing all the government entities within the economy to actually adopt blockchain technology. So I feel that our presence here in the region is definitely at the right time. And I feel that the environment is very, very much productive and very encouraging to actually get a lot of different entities and enterprises to adopt our network. And I think that because of that openness and willingness to adopt technology in general, and more specifically blockchain technology, there's a tremendous amount of opportunity for us to actually get that mass adoption in the Middle Eastern and North African region. And I'm hoping over the next few months and the next few years, you'll see that increase exponentially over time. And the main benefactor of that, I hope, will be Casper network, and the usage on the network eventually will exponentially grow over time as well. So that's something that I'm very much excited about, and I feel that there's a lot of potential here in the region, and I'm so happy that we are putting a lot of focus in the region here as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So, at this point in our life cycle, CasperLabs as a startup, we're going to be very opportunistic around where we're going to focus our attention and energy, right? So definitely one of our key areas of focus is going to be the MENA region, because, just because of the alignment, right? The alignment of what those governments and those agencies want to do in the area and what we want to see achieved, right? So we're going to be very much focused on, there's a question about where do we aim to be 1 year from now? So where I want to be 1 year from now on the CasperLabs side is I absolutely want to have released several real world use cases to production, right? Where the Casper technology is being used in a real world way with enterprise platforms, right? So we want to basically go to production with IPv and the Global Patent Registry. We'd like to go to production with at least one significant project in the UAE at a minimum. And then of course we have some of our other key partnerships that we're working with. So the goal is to have somewhere between 3 to 5 production platforms actually running, right, up and running on the CasperLabs side. That's where I'd like us to be. And those projects are definitely going to drive, upgrades and updates to the public protocol and the core technology of the Casper blockchain, right? So we will probably have our, some of our hybrid implementations done, and we'll be a lot further in the sharding research. That's where I see us in about a year.
Maybe I can say something. This is Ralph from the Casper Association. Maybe I can say one important area for sure for the association, but also for the network will be, we believe that finance is really
ideal for smart contract, right? So, and that is an area that we believe is largely underserved, smart contracts in financial applications on chains. I personally believe that that the current DeFi applications are headed for trouble, and they're very limited in terms of their use cases. While the numbers may be impressive, the actual use case for the real world and helping really companies getting financed and and real world legacy institutions becoming more efficient in their business in financial services is extremely limited. So we believe that that's an area that really needs to be looked at, and we have some initiatives that we will be probably can talk about in due time, but that's certainly an area that is of important focus for us.
Yeah, absolutely. So, we also got a question, about that there aren't that many enterprises building on Casper right now, just a few, and this is on purpose. So I want to be very clear with the community. Our pipeline at CasperLabs is much, much larger than we can take. We're like literally drinking what we call drinking from the fire hose. And the reason we are doing a slower roll is because we want to make sure, number one, that we are gathering feedback on the protocol and the platform, and we are rapidly iterating on the VM, right? So the VM has got about, this kind of dovetails into roadmap. The VM has got about a 3-month roadmap of pretty intense work that it's going to do based on the feedback that we've already received from customers, right? We don't want to put something out there that customers are going to have to hack around, work around, struggle with, right? So what we want to do is we're going to get feedback from these customers. We're getting the feedback. Then we're making enhancements to the product. And then we're going to make those upgrades. And then we're going to implement those customers, right? And this is really the way you want to iteratively improve your product, by getting customer feedback. And this will make the platform and the protocol and the product much, much better, right, in the next 6 to 7 months, right? Like I said, I want to see 4 or 5 big projects implemented in the next 12 months. So you kind of need to slowly, if you come out with a product that is still fairly new and you try to go really, really big, you're not going to build a product that doesn't have a bunch of technical debt and workaround and hacks, because when you're under the gun to get a customer live, you're forced to work around it. And that's not what we want, right? We want to go out slowly, do a few projects and several use cases in several verticals, improve on the protocol as we do that, get those products and get those updates shipped, specified, designed, and shipped properly, then do the implementation with companies. This will get us to a cleaner, faster, better, and much, much better product in the long term. So this is going to be our process, incrementalism in all things. And I know the community is really, really excited about having, really fast, broad adoption, but that's simply not the way, great companies are built, right? We just learned about Zoom during COVID, but Zoom has been out there for 6 or 7 years. And I'm not saying it's going to take 6 or 7 years for us to get there, but take at least a year, right? So we can learn about what we need to build in the product. That's right. So if you do slow initial adoption, it kind of enables you to go wide fast, right? So what we need to do is lay the pipeline right now within the product so that in a couple of years, we can go big, very, very fast. And we'll be ready for it then. More questions? Joe, you there?
Yes, there's no, you've covered the last few questions there very well. Has anybody got any more questions? Did we cover, is there an updated roadmap? Did we cover that?
Oh yeah, Piotr, can you show the roadmap, please? Thank you for bringing that up, Joe.
Sure.
Yes, so yeah, this is our public roadmap. It's not yet fully public. We are working hard to make sure that the information we present here is accurate and up to date. So as you see here, the first upgrade is already with us. These are the details. Then for the second upgrade, we are working more on the stabilizing network, introducing a little bit of the security, and then there will be one more upgrade before our next big date, which is the tokens unlock date in the end of June. Then we plan to work on the scale. So we want to work on the performance. So we either want to make the blocks bigger or to have the shorter runs. And in fact, these tests are already ongoing. So based on this, the outcomes of these tests, we will make some decisions here. And as I told you last week, we are working hard to make our event stream even better, to dump more events, to make sure that after restarting the node, the events are ordered in the correct way. We are addressing the constant audit that was done on the execution engine side, as this will be also followed by the audit on the signer side. And then for the future, we are gathering more feedback and trying to build up the items that to add here the items that are important for the project, as fasting, as state pruning, more things about the protocol efficiency, and this whole roadmap. So the public roadmap will be published very soon. So we are finishing the migration of the repositories, and then we'll turn this roadmap repository inside the Casper network organization into public mode. Everybody will be able to see, comment, and discuss with us the items that are presenting here for you. Thank you.
Thank Piotr.
I can give an update on the Delta testnet token. So Joe is crunching through the data. Speaking of the event store, we store the data off from the event store and the status endpoint scraping. And Joe is working through the data. He's going to provide that data to me, and I will start coming up with the participation rewards from there. You can expect that probably sometime by the end of May, you will hear back from me on KYC. You'll have a few weeks to go through KYC, and at the end of KYC, you will get your VFTA that you'll have to sign to receive your tokens. And then the tokens will be dropped to the public key that you provided and signed up with in mainnet.
We have a question here. Which is the biggest competitor you see in the space, given that we don't have many enterprise solutions currently?
Yeah, so, this is a really interesting question. I think a lot of people seem to believe that blockchain is simply limited to the people that have already started adopting blockchain. And I absolutely believe that to be patently false. I think blockchain adoption is very, very nascent right now, both in enterprise and even broadly amongst developers. If you just take developers as an example, there's 26 million developers out there, and probably we have less than 10% penetration in the blockchain that are using blockchain or familiar with blockchain technology. So I believe interest is still very high, and the opportunity and the total addressable market is still massive. So I don't believe necessarily that competition is hugely important, because I don't think we're competing head to head with other blockchain competitors. In a majority of the conversations we're having with enterprises, they're not necessarily talking or looking at other blockchains out there, which is very good, right? So I've said this over and over again. I believe that for the current landscape, there's plenty of opportunity for every single blockchain to thrive and do very, very well.
Thanks, Meta. Question here. Is Casper ready technically to have third parties create wallets or do token trade? That's definitely a question. Timothy, do you think you could touch a little bit on that? That's something that people definitely can do. Timothy, are you there?
I think he left.
He may have left, but we do absolutely have.
Sorry, what was the question?
It's about integration.
Is Casper ready technically to have third parties create wallets or do token trades?
Yes, obviously, if we're doing exchange integration, we must be ready to do wallets, and now is a great time to get started. You're going to have a lot of customers showing up sometime around July who are going to want self-sovereign wallets.
Yeah, so Piotr is sharing his screen here. This is some documentation on the CSPR transfer workflow. It talks about the 3 SDKs that are available, the Golang, the logo, we should update that, include the Golang location.
Yes.
So this talks about the Rust Casper client, but it shows all the RPCs, how you set, what the flow would be for those that want to integrate. So those of you members of the community, if you believe you'd like to see the Casper token listed someplace, you can point those exchanges to this documentation. If they feel that they want to list the token, they can definitely do so. The documentation is there, the SDKs are there.
And then don't forget, if you're a wallet developer, come on over to the DevX DAO and put in an application to get a grant to build out a Casper wallet.
Exactly. Other questions, Joe?
What about 8% yield for tokens sale, option 1 and 2? Yeah, so we've touched on all the recent questions. For the questions about exchange listings and circulating tokens, you should probably join our Telegram channel if you're not already there, and I'll leave a link for that in the description here. Which companies have already audited the Casper network?
Yes, so Trail of Bits has already audited the consensus protocol, and QuantStamp has audited the smart contracts, the system contracts. So we are clear, free and clear. We have some remediation from the QuantStamp audit that is teed up. I believe that's in release 1.2, correct? Piotr,
It's split between 1.2 and 1.3.
Okay, yep. So the remediation is coming. There were no high priority security findings, if I recall correctly, from the QuantStamp audit. And for folks that are curious on getting the actual audit documentation, I could potentially provide that if you want. But yeah, the audit exited clean. More or less, there were some recommendations, and we're going to get those remediations in place in the next couple of months. Any other questions? It's been almost 60 minutes. I think we could conclude unless there's anything else that folks want to talk about.
Yeah, that seems to be it for questions. We can wrap this up. Thank you everybody for joining, watching live today. We'll be posting this call in our Telegram channel, so you can watch it after the fact. Thanks for all the likes, and be sure to subscribe so you never miss when we go live. Thanks everyone for watching.